I ran into my secret wife at a bar. She was holding hands with her first love, and I was with my mistress. Just 10 minutes earlier, we had both checked in with each other about our plans for the night. She said she had a meeting. I said I had to work late. In front of everyone, we shared a silent understanding and pretended to be strangers, our smiles friendly and warm as we shook hands. But when we got home that night, she grabbed me, a dangerous smile playing on her lips. Quite the player, aren't we, darling? The moment I saw Diana Vance at the bar, I turned to leave. But my idiot friend grabbed me, dragging me in front of her with a sycophantic grin. This is my friend I was telling you about, Diana Vance. I'm manager at Stellar Solutions. The Miss Vance. Then he turned to Diana and introduced me. Frank Miller, a director at Artisan Corporation. His professional skills are top-notch. He shot her a thumbs up. If you have any projects, you should hit him up. Our Frank here is incredibly capable. While he was still rambling on, my eyes met Diana's. She was on Leo Sterling's arm, but her gaze landed on my hand, intertwined with Chloe Jensen's. After a brief pause, a playful smirk spread across her face. I've heard so much about you, she said, extending her hand. A director, out at a bar? I would have thought someone as busy as you would still be burning the midnight oil at the office. As she spoke, her nails dug sharply into my palm. I flinched and shot back, and I assumed a person of your importance, Miss Vance, will be tied up in a meeting right about now. We locked eyes for a moment, and I saw a flash of danger in hers. Then, simultaneously, we released our hands and looked away. The booth was filled with familiar faces from our social circle. The thing is, Diana and I were secretly married. Besides our parents, nobody knew. After 7 years of marriage, everyone around us still thought we were single and constantly tried to set us up on dates. This here is the famous first love of our Miss Vance. I never knew she was such a hopeless romantic, a friend laughed, raising his glass. Ever since Leo left for London 7 years ago, she stayed single, just waiting for him. She's the most eligible bachelorette around. For years, all sorts of millionaire suitors have tried to win her over, but she's been waiting faithfully, just like Penelope. And now that Leo's back, they're together again. I bet we'll be hearing wedding bells soon. You'd better invite us to the wedding. Ha ha. I glanced up. Under the dim, hazy lights, Leo Sterling had his arm around Diana's shoulder, staring directly at me. A contemptuous smirk played on his lips. It was the look of a victor scorning the loser. I looked away, a cold, indifferent smile on my face. People really are forgetful creatures. I remembered all those years of sleepless nights, tossing and turning, my heart aching so much it felt like it was being crushed, leaving me unable to breathe. Back then, I thought I'd never get over it. But now, looking back, the memory is so distant it's almost a blur. It no longer bothers me in the slightest who this woman is with. Diana and I were the only two people at the table who had never been seen together. My friend, thinking we were strangers, started introducing me to her. Our Frank here has been single for years, too. Just hasn't found the right person. He chuckled, but he just started seeing this younger girl and seems to have finally settled down. It's the first time I've ever seen Frank this serious. I'm guessing we'll be hearing wedding bells from him soon too, right? Beside me, Chloe Jensen squeezed my hand, her eyes crinkling into happy crescents as she smiled. I'll be old enough to get married in 3 months, she announced cheerfully. Even the bar's decadent atmosphere couldn't dim the pure light in her eyes. She had the face of a spoiled, willful princess, but her eyes were like a puppy's, bright and loyal, sticking to whomever she chose without wavering. My heart skipped a beat. Meeting Chloe had been a complete surprise. I had just received an award and was invited back to my alma mater, NYU, to give a guest lecture. Chloe wasn't an engineering major. She was just there to get some extra credit for attending a campus event. But to my surprise, as soon as I finished and was about to leave, she was the first person to run up and block my path. I assumed she was a freshman with some questions about the field, so I stopped and waited patiently. But her eyes were glued to me like a puppy staring at a bone. Hey, she blurted out. Can I get your number for iMessage? I was taken aback. Chloe and Diana don't look anything alike. They're both beautiful, but in completely different ways. Yet, in that moment, it was like I was seeing Diana at 22 all over again. She had that same proud tilt to her chin, that same playful arrogance in her eyes. Hey, freshman, she'd said, give me your number. As if possessed by a ghost, I pulled out my phone and added her on iMessage. Chloe told me later that the moment she saw me, it was like Cupid hit her heart with a bazooka. She was so completely knocked for a loop that she didn't hear a single word of my 2-hour lecture. She just stared at me the whole time. I never intended to lie to Chloe, so I told her I was married. She was heartbroken for a while, but she still came back. "As long as you divorce her before I'm old enough to get married, I'll forgive you," she said, looking down at her shoes. For a second, I could almost see a pair of puppy ears drooping sadly behind her head. "You have 1 year and 3 months. That was right around the time Diana and I had our final explosive fight. I'd found out she had flown to London to spend Leo Sterling's birthday with him. The truth is, I knew all about Diana and Leo. The three of us went to the same high school. They were each other's first love, a perfect match from two powerful families, and their high school romance was the stuff of legends. And me? I was just another ordinary guy with a crush on her. Diana and Leo were together for 7 years, from the time they were 16 until they were 22. They didn't break up until after college graduation. The reason was simple. They were both used to getting their way. Diana, with her princess attitude, was never one to back down. Their arguments escalated until finally, Leo couldn't take it anymore and stormed off to London out of spite. Diana didn't chase after him, and just like that, they were over. Sometime later, she saw me playing basketball and asked for my number right there on the court. It's funny, really. I actually thought she liked me. I found out later that she was just lonely after Leo left and picked me out of boredom. Everything that followed was predictable. She was heartbroken and needed comfort, and her family was pressuring her to get married, so she needed a stand-in. And I, a decent guy from a good family, was the perfect candidate. I was completely clueless, just a fool in love, thinking I had finally found the real thing. I was overjoyed, assuming she felt the same way. Thinking back on it now, I just shake my head and laugh bitterly. What a fool I was. Diana narrowed her eyes, her long fingers toying with her glass as a smirk played on her lips. A man your age, Director Miller, and still not married? Don't tell me you're sneaking out behind your wife's back to play with little girls. I looked over at her. In the noisy crowd, Diana was, without a doubt, the most striking woman in the room. She had a stunning figure, sharp, delicate features, and captivating eyes accentuated by winged eyeliner. Age hadn't touched her. It had only made her more alluring. She was lounging in the booth in a tight black dress. The thin fabric stretched taut across her chest, creating a silhouette that drew furtive glances from every man in the vicinity. I took a sip of my drink. "I'm just as surprised that a woman of your age is still single, Ms. Vance," I said coolly. "Or are you also sneaking out behind your husband's back to meet up with a first love?" My remark was sharp enough to silence the table. Our friends looked back and forth between us, confused by the immediate hostility. After a tense moment, we both scoffed and looked away. I couldn't even taste my drink. Diana and Leo flirted shamelessly right in front of me, culminating in him tilting her chin up and passing amber liquid from his mouth to hers in a deep, wet kiss. The table erupted in cheers and catcalls. When they broke apart, Diana wiped a trickle of liquor from her lips and shot me a challenging look. The Omi would have lost his mind right then and there. But now I could just smirk and play along. "Okay," I shouted with the rest of them. Diana's smile vanished, her face freezing over. "Your turn, Frank. You two are the only other couple here," one of my drunker friends yelled, pushing drinks towards me and Chloe. He winked. "Show us what the kids got." Chloe's family was just as wealthy as Diana's, if not more so. But she'd had a strict upbringing and wasn't part of the usual party scene. She told me I was her first boyfriend. I watched her ears slowly turn bright red. From the corner of my eye, I saw the smile drain from Diana's face as she gripped her glass. I wasn't as shameless as her. I had no intention of making out in front of a crowd. I was about to wave them off and refuse. But Chloe leaned in closer. Her eyes were glistening as she tilted her face up to mine. As her exquisite features came into focus, I was struck by the realization that the little girl I'd always seen her as had grown into a woman. Her gaze dropped to my mouth, her own lips moist and red. "Frank," she whispered, a little siren. In that moment, I finally understood the meaning of innocently seductive. Chloe had such a youthful face and a girlish air about her. Even though she was 5'6" with a killer body, she always seemed so young. But right then, with her eyes flushed from the alcohol, they held an unconscious allure. I swallowed hard. Looking at that face, I found it impossible to say no. A second before our lips met, Diana shot to her feet. Her face was pale with rage. The movement was so abrupt, she sent several glasses crashing to the floor, where they shattered. Everyone jumped, stunned by her outburst. I instinctively pulled back, but Chloe just let out a soft laugh, her slender arms wrapping around my neck. A soft kiss, tasting of beer and sweet malt, landed gently on my lips. When I got home and flipped on the lights, I found Diana sitting on the sofa, scowling. She'd been wearing that same sour expression since the second half of the night at the bar. looking like everyone there owed her $1,000,000. I ignored her, kicked off my shoes, and headed for the shower. But Diana's sarcastic voice cut through the silence. Working late at a bar, were we? I shrugged. Weren't you in a meeting at that same bar? Touché, she shot back. A long cylinder of ash had formed on the unsmoked cigarette between her fingers. She didn't bother to flick it, too focused on her sarcasm. Frank Miller, you're really something else. Taking little girls to nightclubs now. I turned to face her, frowning. Diana, you were the one who said we could see other people. No interference. I paused. So what is this? Don't tell me you're jealous. Jealous? Diana let out a cold laugh, crushing her cigarette in the ashtray. You're giving yourself too much credit. I'm just offering a piece of friendly advice, for old time's sake. A girl who's barely out of diapers isn't exactly reliable. I couldn't be bothered to argue. It's not like you're the picture of reliability yourself. I walked into the bathroom and started taking off my clothes for a shower. I had just turned on the water when the bathroom door swung open. Before I could even register my surprise, a hot, soft body pressed against my back. I tensed up, but Diana held me tight. She whispered in my ear, "Is some clueless little girl really more exciting than me?" In the steamy bathroom, her voice was low and husky. Frank, I let out a cold laugh, spinning around to grab her by the waist, turning the tables on her. Diana's eyes were glazed over, a triumphant smile spreading across her face as she rose onto her toes. The second before her lips touched mine, I gave a cold smirk and shoved her away. Diana stumbled back, her eyes wide with disbelief. Frank, are you out of your goddamn mind? I snatched a towel, wrapped it around my waist, and snarled, "Get out." The color drained from Diana's face, replaced by a simmering rage. Frank, she seethed, do you really find me that disgusting? She was standing there in nothing but lace underwear, and I froze, the image of her blurring with that photo Leo had sent me. It was his birthday. I'd been in a car accident on a business trip and was lying alone in a hospital bed. Meanwhile, Diana was in Leo's bed, completely naked, with a web of hickeys covering her neck. Leo took a picture and sent it to me. He didn't write a single word, but the message was deafening. It felt like a physical slap across the face, leaving my ears ringing. I clenched my jaw, fighting back the urge to vomit, and pointed to the door. I'm saying this one last time. Get out. Diana stared at me for a long, hard moment. I saw her fists clench, her eyes swirling with an emotion I couldn't decipher. Then, her face went blank, and she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I closed my eyes, letting the hot water run over me, but couldn't wash away the bone-deep chill I felt. Her touch disgusted me, utterly and completely. It was 3 years into our marriage when I realized Diana had never gotten over Leo. Before that, things had been good between us. She was a decent wife, beautiful, fun, and uninhibited in bed. She didn't have that typical, spoiled, rich kid attitude. She came home right after work. She remembered all our anniversaries, would cook my favorite meals, and then prop her chin in her hands and ask with a smile, "Is it good?" Sometimes we would fall asleep holding each other, just like a real, loving couple. Until one night, in the middle of making love, a drop of sweat fell from my forehead onto her collarbone, and she moaned, "Leo." It was like being hit over the head. My mind went completely blank. It's like they say, if you see one cockroach, there are 1,000 more hiding in the walls. I started finding more and more signs. The iMessage history she refused to delete. A worn photo of them together, the edges soft from being handled so often. A secret Instagram account she used to follow him. I started fighting with her constantly. I lost my mind. I begged, I threatened, I cursed her out. I tried everything. Nothing worked. In the end, she just said coldly, "If you can't handle it, we can get a divorce." That's when it finally hit me. The past few years had been a complete illusion, a one-sided love story I'd told myself. Diana had never loved me. Her heart had always belonged to him. The years I spent by her side meant nothing compared to the 7 years she'd had with Leo. I was trapped in that pain for I don't know how long. It felt like a venomous snake lying dormant inside me, waking up at midnight to sink its fangs into my heart over and over again. Until the day she flew to London for Leo's birthday. I spent the entire night just staring out the window. I can still see the moon from that night. It was full and bright, and so cold. After that night, I told myself that was it. I was done. Diana's mother never liked Leo. The Vance and Sterling families had some bad blood from way back. Her mother, however, adored me. She always looked out for me, and she'd even reamed Diana out for my sake more than once. A year ago, her mom was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The doctor said she had a couple of years at most, and to just keep her comfortable. Diana didn't want to upset her, so she asked me to wait until after her mother passed away to file for divorce. As compensation, she offered me 7% of her shares in the family company. I agreed, not for the money, but because I was grateful for everything her mother had done for me over the years. And from that day forward, we started living separate lives. Diana didn't come home for the next week. We didn't see each other again until her mother's birthday, when we drove up to visit her together. Try to act like you don't hate me for a few hours. Don't let my mom suspect anything, Diana said, one hand on the steering wheel. And tell your little plaything not to call. If she blows our cover, you can kiss that 7% goodbye. I scoffed. Why don't you worry about yourself? Her expression soured, and she fell silent. Mrs. Vance lived in a sprawling villa in the Hollywood Hills. We were about halfway up the winding road when Diana's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and answered immediately. I had to look away. I used to call her all the time in the early years of our marriage. I was a happy newlywed who couldn't stop thinking about his wife, but she rarely picked up. Whenever I asked why, she'd say she was busy with work. And like a fool, I believed her. It took me a long time to understand that you always make time for the people who matter. For everyone else, you're always too busy. I don't know what was said on the other end of the line, but Diana suddenly slammed on the brakes, screeching to a halt on the shoulder. I lurched forward, nearly hitting my head on the dashboard. What the hell are you doing? I yelled. Diana's face was grim. Something's come up. I have to go. You can go on your own. My eyes widened. Are you insane? We're halfway up a mountain. At least drop me off at the house. It's an emergency with Leo. Get out of the car, she said impatiently. The convertible top retracted, and she shoved me out of the car. I stumbled, nearly twisting my ankle. Before I could even curse her out, she sped off, leaving me in a cloud of exhaust. Diana, what the hell is wrong with you? I yelled, furious. But she was already gone, not even a speck in the distance. I pulled out my phone, only to find I had no service. After a moment's hesitation, I gritted my teeth and started walking up the hill. Mrs. Vance had always treated me like her own son. She had a personal chef and a full staff, but whenever I visited, she insisted on cooking for me herself. She even remembered my favorite dishes and would make them for me specially. Diana used to get jealous, saying her mom had barely cooked for her a handful of times her entire life. When Mrs. Vance first found out about the affair, she was livid. Even though she was already sick, she dragged herself to the kitchen, found a rolling pin, and chased Diana around the house with it. Did Frank marry you just so you could humiliate him like this? She had screamed. What has that Leo Sterling done to you? How can you treat Frank this way? She didn't have much time left. Every visit counted. Diana might be heartless, but I couldn't be. The road was steep, and the leg I'd injured in the car accident started to ache. It was usually fine, but it wasn't fully healed enough for a long hike. Soon, the pain was excruciating. I gritted my teeth and pushed on, and by the time I neared the house, my knee was completely numb. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a friend who works at the hospital, one of the few people who knew the truth about my marriage to Diana. He was silent for a long moment after I answered. Then he finally stammered, Frank, I just saw Diana here at the hospital with some guy. They went to the OB/GYN department. He sent me a photo through iMessage. It showed Diana outside a hospital room, carefully helping Leo, a look of deep concern on her face. My friend didn't say anything else, probably not wanting to rub salt in the wound. I just stared at the picture. Then a drop of rain hit the screen. I looked up, dazed, and realized it had started to rain. The mountain shower came on fast and hard, and within seconds I was soaked through, a damp chill seeping deep into my bones. It was too late to turn back, so I had no choice but to keep inching my way up the hill. The wind drove the cold rain against my skin, and for some reason, my mind drifted back to something that happened a long time ago. It was after a late study session in high school. I stumbled upon a group of punks cornering a girl from my school. She wasn't having it, and slapped their bleach blonde leader across the face. That pissed him off. He punched her in the gut. She grunted and doubled over, but still shot back a defiant remark, which only made them angrier and more violent. I was young and hot-headed back then. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I yelled. They ignored me, but I couldn't just stand there and watch, so I charged in and started swinging. I'd taken some kickboxing classes, so I knew how to handle myself. I took down a few of them pretty quickly. Then two of them pulled out baseball bats, and one swung hard at the girl's head. A solid hit like that would have cracked her skull open. I gritted my teeth and jumped in front of her. The bat connected with my leg with a sickening crack. A searing pain shot through my shin, and I collapsed to the ground. They must have thought we were together, because they started wailing on me even harder. I took a few more blows before someone finally called the cops, and the sound of sirens sent them running. I managed to grab her wrist, and through a fit of coughing, I mumbled, "It's okay." The rest is a blur. I woke up in the hospital. The doctor told me my leg was broken, and I'd had surgery for that and my other injuries. My parents were worried and took me back to their place to recover. I'd almost forgotten the whole thing until my recent car accident. The doctor noticed the old injury on the x-ray and asked if I'd had surgery on my leg before. She said the old injury might complicate my recovery and that I needed a family member to sign the consent forms for surgery. I called Diana, but she blew me off, saying she had a meeting. I had no choice but to sign for myself. The next night, as I was lying in my hospital bed, I got that picture from Leo. That's when I knew there had been no meeting. It was Leo's birthday. She had flown to London to celebrate with him, to give him a birthday present in bed. The window in my hospital room was smudged. Outside, the moon was huge and perfectly round, glowing with a cold, pale light. A sharp pain tore through my chest, then spread downwards until my whole body ached. It sounds melodramatic for a man to talk about a broken heart, but in that moment, that's the only way I could describe it. That night, Diana was sleeping in Leo's arms, in his bed, and I was alone in the hospital, awake the entire night. That was the day I finally woke up. I was done waiting for her. I rang the doorbell, and the housekeeper gasped when she saw me. "Mr. Miller, I waved her off. I'm just going to take a quick shower." I didn't want Mrs. Vance to see me soaked and miserable. She didn't have much time left. There was no need to cause her any more stress. After I'd showered and changed, I went into Mrs. Vance's room. She was lying quietly in bed. The once vibrant, elegant woman was now so thin and frail, she looked like she might break. Her face a pale, ashen color. The sound of the door opening startled her. She slowly opened her eyes, and a faint light sparked within them. "Frank, you came." I sat beside her and took her hand. "You're looking better, Mom. You seem to have more energy." She coughed, then managed a weak smile. "I don't have much time left." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just started telling her about some funny things that had happened recently. Eventually, I ran out of stories, and a comfortable silence fell between us. Mrs. Vance leaned back against her pillows. The room was quiet. I patted her hand. "You should get some rest, Mom. I'll come visit again soon." As I stood to leave, she suddenly stopped me. "Frank, you should divorce her." I froze. "What? She's back with that boy again, isn't she?" "No," I said, forcing a smile. "Don't worry about it, Mom." "Frank, your eyes don't smile anymore," she said, looking at me intently. She pointed to her own lips. "Your mouth is smiling." Then she pointed to her chest. "But your heart isn't. You're not happy." The effort of speaking left her breathless, but she pushed on. I was speechless. "Don't stay with her for my sake. You're still so young." She managed another smile. "Divorce her and go live your own life." I don't know why, but at 30 years old, I felt my eyes start to burn. Mrs. Vance patted my hand. "You're a good boy, Frank. Don't waste any more of your life on account of this old woman." "Mom," I started, but my throat was too tight to speak. She just smiled gently. "I'm so happy you came to see me." With some effort, she pulled a manila envelope from her bedside table and handed it to me. "These are my shares in the company. 13%. For everything Diana has put you through over the years. Let this be my way of making it up to you." She pressed it into my hands. "You have to take it. And please, take care of yourself." I was stunned and tried to give it back. "Mom, I can't accept this." But she just smiled and gently stroked my hair. "Don't let anyone treat you badly ever again." I didn't go home that night. I went straight to Chloe's apartment. She was thrilled to see me, but the moment she touched my hand, her expression changed. "You're burning up." I touched my forehead and realized I had a fever. Chloe helped me into bed, tucked me in, and a few minutes later, returned with a cup of hot tea. She gently helped me sit up. "Drink this, it'll help you sweat it out." Then she climbed into bed and wrapped her arms around me. I frowned. "You'll get sick." She just kissed my cheek. "I'm not scared." She pulled out her phone. "Are you bored? I can read you a story." I had to laugh. "I'm a grown man, Chloe. I don't need a bedtime story." She ignored me, hugged me tighter, and cleared her throat dramatically. "Once upon a time, there was a princess with skin as white as snow, hair as black as ebony, and lips as red as blood. But her heart was black, so they called her the black-hearted princess. The prince kissed the princess, and she coughed up the poisoned apple and came back to life. And then the prince and princess got married. I thought that was the end and started to close my eyes, but Chloe continued. But after they were married, the prince discovered that the black-hearted princess was a serial cheater who treated him terribly. So the prince shoved the poisoned apple back down her throat and killed her. Then he married a new princess who was young, beautiful, and kind to him, and they lived happily ever after. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of story is that? Chloe shot me a mischievous look, a small smile playing on her lips as she gently patted my back. A gentle breeze rustled the curtains, carrying the faint scent of gardenias from the street below. The soft sounds of passing cars drifted up, and the city lights were muted to a gentle glow by the thin fabric. Chloe was warm against me, her arms wrapped tightly around my neck. She held on like a child, clinging to their most prized possession. The feeling was strange but wonderful. She was so much younger than me, yet I felt completely safe in her arms. Just before I drifted off to sleep, I heard her whisper a soft sigh in my ear. "Hurry up and get that divorce. Your princess is getting impatient." I went home early the next morning. Diana was on the sofa, and her brow furrowed in that familiar way when she saw me. "Where were you last night? I called you, but you didn't pick up." I'd fallen asleep at Chloe's, and my phone had been on silent. I checked it and saw 3 missed calls, all from Diana. "None of your business," I said flatly. Her eyes darkened for a moment, then she started to explain, a little too quickly. "Leo wasn't feeling well yesterday. His health has always been a bit fragile. You don't have to explain anything to me." I cut her off, slipping on my house shoes. "I'm not interested." There was a time when I would have been desperate for every detail of her life, when her every interaction with Leo would have consumed me. But now I couldn't care less. "I came here to talk about the divorce," I said, tossing the papers onto the coffee table in front of her. "Your mother knows everything. She signed her shares over to me, so you can keep your 7%. I want this divorce finalized as soon as possible. If you fight me on this, I'll take you to court." I still have that picture Leo sent me. Diana froze. I'd kept that photo to remind myself of the humiliation. Every time I looked at it, a little piece of my love for her died, until there was nothing left. "I thought we agreed to wait," Diana said, frowning. "Frank, are you really that desperate to be with that little girl?" She scoffed. "You think she's any better than me? What's the age difference? 10 years. Do you two even have anything to talk about? Do you really think this will last?" She shook her head, her face a mask of derision. "Frank, you're still so naive." I turned to face her. The woman I'd been so overjoyed to marry now looked utterly repulsive to me. "At least she's not a cheating whore," I said with a cold, merciless smile. "Diana, how can you be so shameless? You wasted years of my life, and you have the audacity to lecture me." She fell silent, unable to respond. Was my life just some background noise for your sordid little affair? I stepped closer, staring her down. "When you're out with Leo now, do people know he's sleeping with another man's wife?" Diana shot to her feet. "Don't you dare talk like that. What you two did was far uglier than anything I could say." I laughed coldly. "You think I enjoy wasting my breath on you? Just sign the papers, and we can go our separate ways. You can build a shrine to him for all I care." Her eyes were like ice. After a long silence, a cold, humorless smile touched her lips. "Fine, you said it." She looked at me. "Frank Miller, you'd better not regret this." I scoffed and held out a pen. "Just sign it." Her face was dark as she glared at me. Then she angrily scrawled her name and threw the papers back at me. "There. Happy now?" I nodded. "City Hall, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late." On what would be the last day of my marriage, I was ecstatic from the moment she signed the papers. I couldn't wait to tell Chloe. She was just as excited. "For real," she texted back. "I'll meet you there tomorrow morning. We can get our license right after. Save you a trip. I'm going home to get my birth certificate right now." It took some convincing, but I finally got her to agree to wait until after we'd met each other's parents. That day, we had to attend a mutual friend's wedding. We drove separately, but of course we were seated at the same table. I pretended she didn't exist. She put some food on Leo's plate, her voice sweet. "Eat up." Then she shot a subtle glance in my direction. Leo's smile was a little strained. "Diana, you know I don't eat seafood." A friend at the table quickly jumped in to break the awkward silence. "So you and Leo, huh? Finally making it official. When's the wedding?" Diana didn't say anything. A smirk played on Leo's lips as he looked at me. "Yeah, you'll all have to be there." Another friend laughed. "It's amazing you two made it all the way from high school. I remember that punk who had a crush on you cornered you after school when you turned him down. It was Leo who saved you, right?" A classic damsel in distress story. Leo's face suddenly looked unnatural, and he quickly changed the subject. "That was a long time ago. That's not why she's with me." But Diana contradicted him. "Actually, that's exactly why." Leo's expression soured even more. I glanced up, surprised. I never knew about that part of their history. Not that it mattered to me. I looked back down at my plate, uninterested. "What a coincidence." Another friend of mine at the table piped up. "Frank saved a girl once, too. I heard there were 5 or 6 guys harassing her, and when she fought back, they came at her with a baseball bat. If Frank hadn't jumped in and taken a hit, she might have been killed." He grumbled. Frank had to take half a year off from school and ended up transferring because of it. And the girl never even said thank you. That blow was so bad. His leg has never been the same since. He cut himself off, glancing at my expression. I wasn't bothered by it. It was a long time ago, and I hadn't done it for a thank you anyway. But Diana's face went pale, and she shot to her feet. knocking over glasses and plates. Red wine spilled all over her dress, but she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes were locked on me, her voice trembling as she asked, "What did you just say?" A flicker of panic crossed Leo's face. He quickly stood and took her hand. "Diana, your dress is stained. Let's go get you cleaned up." But Diana yanked her hand away, her teeth clenched. "Frank," she demanded, "when did this happen? When did you save that girl?" I didn't understand her intense reaction. Everyone was staring, not wanting to cause a scene at my friend's wedding. I thought for a moment. "I don't remember the exact date," I said, frowning. "It was the summer of 2014. August, I think. Now sit down. We're at a wedding." A strange expression crossed Diana's face, a mixture of disbelief and dawning horror. "What was the last thing you said to her?" "It was a long time ago, but I remember the pain so clearly. I can still remember what I said. It's okay. I think that was it." Diana collapsed back into her chair. Her face was a twisted mask of laughter and tears, and she finally covered it with her hands. Leo was as white as a sheet, trembling from head to toe. At that point, even an idiot could have put the pieces together. I raised an eyebrow. "So that was you, getting your ass kicked in that alley?" I paused. "What a shame." I smiled sweetly. "If I'd known it was you, I would have let them finish the job." I got up and left after that. A friend filled me in on the rest later that night. "Turns out, after you saved her, Diana was looking for you everywhere. But Leo was there that night, watching from the shadows. He'd always been obsessed with her, so he just stepped in and took the credit. You should have seen the look on her face, man. It was terrifying. He sent me a video. In the video, Leo's face was a mess, his voice tight with desperation. "Yes, I lied to you. I admit it. But does that make everything we had for all those years a lie? You told me you only loved me. So what if Frank saved you? You don't love him. Are you suddenly going to fall in love with him just because of this?" Diana's face was like stone. The love she once had for him was gone, replaced by the look one gives a mortal enemy. She shoved him away, her voice dripping with ice. "Now, we are not done." My friend was practically giddy. "Leo is finished. I heard his dad has an illegitimate son. He's leaving everything too. Leo only came back to leech off Diana. And now she's cut off his credit cards and taken back the house and the car. And from the sound of it, she's just getting started." I put down my phone, a complicated mix of emotions churning inside me. I wasn't as calm as I was pretending to be. What a complete mess. Diana fell for Leo because he pretended to be me. Then she hurt me for his sake. In this twisted love triangle, I was the only one who truly lost. Did I hate her? I asked myself. I saved her life, and my leg has never been the same since. And in return, she destroyed my marriage. How could I not hate her? If I could go back in time to that night, I would have just kept walking. Diana came home late, reeking of alcohol and completely wasted. "Don't forget," I reminded her, "we have to go to City Hall tomorrow for the divorce." She ignored me, slumping onto the sofa and slurring her words. I broke up with Leo. He lied to me. I pulled all my family's investments from his company. They'll be bankrupt by next week. He has nothing now. Are you happy? I couldn't help but laugh coldly. "And what about you? Don't you deserve to suffer even more?" She had no answer. After a long moment, she suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me. I was so shocked I took a step back. Then she raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face. She didn't hold back at all. The corner of her lips split open, and a trickle of blood ran down her chin. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled, stunned. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "I know I was wrong. You can hit me, scream at me, do whatever you want. Frank, I'll make it up to you. I have 42% of the company's shares. They're all yours. Just please forgive me." She buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The only sound in the room was her quiet, broken whimpering, like a wounded animal. I didn't know what to say. My parents had wanted to go to the police back then, but we later heard that someone had gotten to those punks first. They'd been beaten half to death, and 3 of them had their Achilles tendon severed. They'd all lost their minds. My parents decided not to press charges, not wanting to put me through the ordeal of giving a statement. And so, I never saw that girl from the alley again. But Leo was right. Would Diana have fallen in love with me if she'd known the truth? Probably not. Even without the misunderstanding, she probably still would have fallen for him. It was all meaningless now. "The best thing you can do for me is to sign the divorce papers," I said, my face a blank mask. "No," she cried, crawling over and grabbing onto my leg. "I won't get a divorce. I was wrong, I know that now. I'll make it up to you, I swear. I'll never see another man again. I'm done with Leo, completely. Please, I'm begging you." I never expected this new complication. "You and Leo went to an OB-GYN together." I spat. "Are you pregnant? Are you trying to make me raise another man's child?" She burst into tears, all her usual arrogance gone. "I'm not pregnant," she sobbed, her eyes red. "He wasn't feeling well and asked me to go with him. He said he's had health problems ever since that night, and I've always felt guilty about it. I was at the OB/GYN to pick up a prescription for a friend. Maybe it was the alcohol, but she was acting completely out of character. She opened her mouth, then closed it before finally whispering hoarsely, "The truth is, I do have feelings for you, but I always felt like I owed Leo, so I did whatever he asked. When you said you wanted a divorce, my first instinct was to say no. Frank, the truth is I couldn't take it anymore." I slapped her across the face. She let out a small gasp and turned her head away. "Diana, don't you dare use the word love," I sneered. "You make me sick," I said coldly. "Knowing what I know now, I wish I'd let you die in that alley." Her face went white, and she stared at me in disbelief. I grabbed the divorce papers and stormed out, slamming the door behind me. The next day, just as I expected, Diana didn't show up at City Hall. She blew up my phone, but the message was always the same. She would make it up to me, but she would not grant me a divorce. I was furious. That woman had already wasted so many years of my life. I was so close to being free, and she was trying to drag me back down with her. If she wanted to play dirty, then so could I. I sold the 13% of shares Mrs. Vance had given me to the company's second largest shareholder. He already owned 32%. So, with my shares, his stake grew to 45%, enough to oust Diana from her position as chairwoman. All of Diana's hard work, handed over to her rival on a silver platter. She called me that same day, her voice thick with sadness. "Frank, do you really hate me this much?" "I'm done with you, Diana," I said coldly. She was silent for a long time. "Do whatever you want," she finally said, "as long as it makes you happy. I lost you once. I can't lose you again." I wanted to bang my head against the wall. In the end, I just filed for divorce in court, submitting the evidence of her affair with Leo. In this state, if I filed twice, the divorce would be granted, whether she agreed to it or not. The divorce got ugly. Because it involved company shares and asset division, everyone at work knew what was going on. I was so busy with lawyers and paperwork that I barely had time to see Chloe. But as they say, when it rains, it pours. I was up late, sorting through financial documents, when Diana called again. Her voice was shaking so badly I could barely understand her. "Frank, you have to come now. It's my mom. She's dying." By the time I got to the hospital, Mrs. Vance was awake. She looked terrible, her face pale and drawn. I looked down at the floor, feeling awkward and ashamed. She had given me those shares, and I had turned around and sold them to her daughter's biggest rival. I had gone too far, but she didn't seem to hold it against me. She just weakly beckoned me over, her hand barely lifting from the sheets. I walked to her bedside, my eyes welling with tears. "Mom," Diana was already a wreck, clutching her mother's hand and sobbing uncontrollably. "It comes for all of us eventually," Mrs. Vance said, managing a weak smile as she patted Diana's hand. "Don't be sad." Her voice was faint, but she pushed on. "Diana, I hear you won't agree to the divorce." Diana wiped away a tear. "Mom, it was all a lie. Leo lied to me. I just found out that Frank was the one who saved me all those years ago. I can't lose him again." Mrs. Vance sighed. "Frank has always been so good to you. From the day you were married, he doted on you. Even when you were running around, he never blamed you. He just waited for you to come to your senses. And now," she paused, catching her breath, "now you find out he was the one who saved you." She closed her eyes. Diana panicked. "Mom? Mom, don't scare me. Wake up." Mrs. Vance's eyes fluttered open, and with the last of her strength, she rasped, "I have one last wish. You have to promise me." Diana nodded frantically, tears streaming down her face. "Anything, Mom, I promise." "Divorce Frank," she said, her grip surprisingly strong. "You two are meant to be. Don't waste any more of his time. He's a good boy." I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. Even at the very end, she was still looking out for me. Diana was stunned into silence. After a long moment, she slowly slid down the side of the bed until she was slumped on the floor. She had been gripping the bed rail so tightly that her knuckles were white and her nails had dug into her palms, drawing blood. Finally, she let go, covering her face with her hands as her body shook with deep, gut-wrenching sobs. "Okay," she choked out. "Mom, I promise. I'll divorce him." Mrs. Vance's hand went still for a second, then fell heavily onto the mattress. A few days later, after the funeral, Diana and I met at City Hall as planned. She had lost a lot of weight. Her clothes seemed to hang off her frame. "Do we really have to do this?" she asked, just as we were about to go inside. She clutched the divorce papers in her hand. "You used to love me so much. I know I was wrong now. Can't we please just start over?" Her expression was practically begging. "You can punish me however you want. Treat me as badly as you like. Just please don't leave me. Please." She covered her face, her voice breaking into a sob. I won't even care about that other woman. You could do whatever you want, see whoever you want, just as long as you come home to me. I stared off at the horizon for a moment before speaking. Diana, who is it you really love? Me? Lau? Or the ghost of the boy who saved you in that alley? If Leo had never lied to you, would you still have fallen for him? Of course not, she said a little too quickly. I just smiled and shook my head. It doesn't matter anymore. If you ever cared about me at all, even a little bit, then please just let me go. Diana, I really, truly don't love you anymore. The wind blew a stray strand of hair across her face, and I thought I saw her eyes turn red. Then she forced a pain-broken smile. Okay, she whispered. Frank Miller, I'll let you go. Her voice was choked, each word a struggle. The house, the cars, the stocks, the savings accounts. It's all yours. I'll walk away with nothing. She pulled out a new set of papers. Consider it compensation. If you won't take me back, then at least take the money. I glanced through the new agreement and was shocked. She wasn't just giving me our marital assets. She was giving me everything she owned. All 42% of her company's shares, the houses, the cars, all of it. She was leaving herself with nothing. I didn't want anything more to do with her. I don't want it, I said. She just gave me a sad, bitter smile. If you don't take it, I'm not signing. I had no choice but to sign. I didn't ask her what she would do now. It wasn't my problem anymore. I wouldn't let myself feel sorry for her again. The divorce was finalized much faster than the wedding had been. In no time at all, we had the papers in hand. As we walked out of the building, Diana stared at me, her expression unreadable. I gave a small wave. Goodbye, Diana. She didn't say anything. I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see her still standing on the curb, motionless. It looked like she said something, but I was too far away to hear. The traffic slowly swallowed her up until she was gone. Our worlds had finally completely separated. I looked away from the mirror and back at the road ahead. Goodbye, Diana. I hope I never see you again. Epilogue. Diana's perspective 2 years after my divorce from Frank. I ran into him at a bridal shop. I was there to pick up my cousin's dress. And as I turned to leave, I saw a woman step out of the fitting room in a cloud of white tulle. The way he looked at her, with such overwhelming tenderness, it made my heart ache. I froze, unable to take my eyes off him. It had been so long. He looked good, healthier. The woman did a little twirl, then ran over to where he was sitting on a plush sofa. Her eyes were sparkling. What do you think? His eyes were filled with so much love as he answered softly. It's beautiful. For some reason, my mind flashed back to years ago. We had just gotten our marriage license, and he had been just as excited, pulling me into a shop to look at dresses. And what had I done? My mind had been on Leo. I just stared at the floor, annoyed and impatient. They're all fine, I'd said. Just pick one. As we were leaving, I glanced back. He was just standing there, his shoulders slumped in defeat, the happy smile gone from his face. He looked so dejected. A sharp pain pierced my heart. I watched as he stared at her for a long moment, then pulled out his phone to take a picture. He beckoned her over, and they huddled together, their heads close as they looked at the screen. I feel like this one makes my arms look fat. What do you think? That one? I still think the third one was the best. It was flown in from Paris. The sales associate told me all the embroidery and beading was done by hand. Now that you mention it, the third one was really nice. There's no rush. Try on as many as you want. We can always change our minds. But for now, let's say that one's the winner, okay? She's better for him than I ever was. I should be happy for him. But for some reason, my eyes started to burn, and a lump formed in my throat, making it hard to breathe. He should have been mine. I'm the one who threw him away, and now someone else gets to be happy with him. In the 2 years since the divorce, I've finally realized how much I miss him. Not a day goes by that I don't think of him. Sometimes, when I drink too much, I see him in my dreams. Not the angry, bitter man he became at the end, but the man I first married. The man who would have dinner waiting for me when I got home from work, who would rub my feet at night if I complained they were sore. The man who would insist on a kiss before he left for work in the morning. I took it all for granted back then. I even found him annoying sometimes. But in my dreams, those memories make me weep with a happiness I'll never feel again. And then I wake up to an empty bed, and the sudden, crushing loneliness is enough to drive me insane. That's why I started drinking. Because when I'm drunk for a little while, I can pretend he still loves me. I know it's pathetic, but I can't bear the reality. I replay our memories over and over in my head, falling in love with him all over again each time, trapping myself in a cycle of regret. It's so stupid. Why did it take losing him for me to realize how much I loved him? I don't know how long I stood there, just greedily drinking in the sight of him, not wanting to miss a single second. Even though he was in love with someone else, even though watching them together was like drinking poison, I couldn't look away. Soon, she had made her choice, and they walked toward the exit, arm in arm. He happened to glance up and saw me. He froze. The woman with him looked over too, and I finally recognized her. It was that little girl he'd been seeing. The girlishness was gone, replaced by the confidence of a mature woman. "Long time no see," he said, his voice neutral. My own voice was trembling so badly I could barely get the words out. "Long time no see." I want to say more. To ask him how he'd been. I wanted to ask if she was better than me. And if she wasn't, if he would consider coming back to me. But in the end, I couldn't say a word. He gave a dismissive little wave, clearly eager to leave, and steered the woman out the door. As they walked away, I heard her ask, "Was that your ex-wife? She's changed so much. I almost didn't recognize her." "She's not important," he said flatly. "No need to recognize her." They got into a car, and with a roar of the engine, they were gone. I watched until the car disappeared around the corner. It was just like the day of our divorce. Me, watching him drive away. Only this time it felt final. He looked so happy. That's good. And me? I'll probably never be happy again. But that's okay. As long as he's happy. Frank, I hope you'll be happy. This time I truly mean it.